You really are a sailor, and you want a performance boat that's also a great home on the water, yeah, I definitely would recommend the Cure 55. I like performance, so I'm looking for a light, all-carbon boat. The lines on this boat kind of nail it for me. I like some of the sexier, like Shoning type hulls and stuff visibly, but I like the higher bows for really crossing oceans, the higher freeboard. That type of cabin, saloon, didn't used to be what I liked, but after 30 years of really doing it, I want something with the visor over the windows, and I want the vertical windows as opposed to the super sleek kind of glass, sloped glass cabins. Kind of hit all the buttons on that phone. I primarily built what's called T-boats in America, which is passenger vessels. I built my own cruising boat also. The reason I got into charter boats to begin was to be able to have a cruising cat. So I built the one boat that I sailed all those miles in, and it was a great boat, loved it, but I was ready for something a little less campy, a little more of a home at sea that I could invite friends and family and so forth on. A vessel like this is just a tremendous amount of man hours. Building it myself and putting the team together for that size of a project, I just, at this point in life, didn't want to do anymore. Wanted to let somebody else do it, and was looking around specifically for what I wanted, which wasn't out there at the time. I'd already given my deposit to H&H for a 52, for the new 52. Couldn't reach agreement on changes that I was looking for. I think it's a good looking boat and got some good things, but there were some things that I just didn't agree with in the package. And so I stepped back out of that. I hadn't heard of Cure Marine, and I was showing a friend what I was thinking of, which was another company called Current Marine, and my computer auto-corrected for me, and you guys popped up. And I was like, that's what I'm looking for. Outremer, I don't love their layout. I don't love that they're still just basically fiberglass after all this time. Other performance brands that are out there, the only other thing I looked at was Seawinds, and when I looked at those really in person, I didn't want, it's not really a performance. It's a pretty heavy boat with a lot of stainless, a lot of heavily molded parts, so it didn't appeal to me. There's not much else out there that I like that either was within my price range or actually was really meeting what I would call genuine performance. Really light, really high power, power to weight ratio, sail area to weight displacement. H&H is going for the very glossy, solid wood, looking finish. I like that. I like visiting boats like that, but I like a little more practical, wash and wear, if you will. Like the Dynoc interior, and no wasted weight, and not having to make up for that weight with more sail area versus the boat you've got. I've spent quite a bit of time on a H&H 55. Wonderful boat, it's a great boat, love it. But there is, there's a lot more fit and finish to it, that's maintenance-wise. And I like a little more of the simpler, smoother interior, if you will. That's another thing that really appealed about this design is the focus on the cockpit, not making the salon the absolute biggest salon possible or imaginable. When you're cruising, unless you're in really cold weather, but even when I'm up in Alaska sailing, that's where you live, is in the cockpit. And so having that big cockpit really appeals to me. The forward cockpit has its appeals too, but I guess I balance out this way still. And I've also got the chain counter there, so we can open up that big window, and effectively I am a forward cockpit. I can talk to anybody just like I would in the forward cockpit. I can see the angle of my chain. I can drive the boat from right there. One thing I don't like about the forward cockpit, I can say, is it's a long ways down. So even if you're coming off the trampolines in a hurry and you make a mistake, it's a ways down. And one of the problems I had with the 52 was when you're up on top of the cabin and you're working at the mast, or at the boom, that's a significant drop down. The infusion process here is, fantastic. The quality of the laminate compared to what would have been acceptable or still is acceptable in a lot of yards. This is void-free lamination, ultimate resin content. It's all carbon, all cord. The technology that's been used with the 3D printing of the molds and the follow-through on that, there's almost no bog on the boat. So we're not wasting any weight in fairing, which is very typical in a epoxy type boat. The acceleration of the second boat, which is I'm hull number 2, obviously, this one here. Now that the molds have been made and all the detailed interior molds have been made, it's come together pretty amazingly fast. This is going to be my home. Yeah, that was a prerequisite. This is my home on the water, and I want on this vessel, like any of the larger catamarans, I want, a couple or 2 couples to come and be at home and have privacy, and us all to be able to be in the same space for a week or 2 weeks, but still have our space. And I want a boat that in 6 knots of wind, I still feel like sailing, as opposed to needing a small hurricane to justify putting up the sails. I plan on sailing up and down the coast here and being close by, and venturing further and further. And then eventually I'll take off and head off to South Pacific, North Pacific, and then the canal and off to the Med and all that stuff. There's a lot of catamarans out there that are comfortable, make nice homes on the water and everything. But if you really are a sailor and you want a performance boat that's also a great home on the water, yeah, I definitely would recommend the Kira 55 if you're a sailor. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to my home on the water.